rambly as you want.
But and then when I got ready to retire, of course, in 14 years after, I had all kinds of accolades.
They all thought you were wonderful, and that was you were. So that was good.
I seemed to be able to enjoy the things that everybody else was with parties and one thing and
Why, sure.
another. But
Well, I'm going to go back just a little bit. When you first moved out to Leggville, we'll call it, was there electricity out there?
oh, yeah.
Was there?
Well, come to think of it, we had Delco systems,
Oh,
our own.
you generated your own electricity.
Generators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know Percy. He would want you to be careful and not use too much of this or too much of that. There was always something, it seemed, that he was yelling about.
He was a pretty close watcher, huh?
Yeah. But
Did you have a automatic washing machine?
yes, I did.
Did you?
Sure.
Great.
That's what I don't really remember, that we had that generator business too long before electricity was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you start out with kerosene lamps?
No.
No, you had electric lights right
Only
away?
only when the lights went out,
Yeah.
and we had the lamps handy.
Uh-huh.
But no, and
So when you moved out there, how did your children get to school?
we took them.
Oh, you took them in. Did you have cars already?
Oh yeah.
You had your own cars?
Yeah, we had a car, and
So you came to town twice, you brought them in, then you came back to pick them up?
I didn't do it. But they were taken in. There were enough people,
Out in the area, sure.
But it wasn't long before there were some buses, too.
Mm-hmm.
They were bused. I don't think that we had to do too much running back and forth. Winter times were the worst. I can remember one winter being with the roads so bad and so much snow and everything that they hooked up horses to use sleigh
Really?
to go in.
To come to town, huh?
Yeah. And then there was one winter they snowshoed into town.
No kidding. Wow.
It
So
was
when
about,
you
it was about 3.5 miles out, we figured, from town.
When you first came up here, what did you think of the little town? I mean, were you happy to come here, or were you thinking, oh, I'm in outer Mongolia, or?
I don't remember what I
You had 4 little
really felt.
children, and you didn't.
I was just happy with our family
Sure.
and
Sure.
our the things that had to be done were more important than fretting about what
About
the
where you
little
were.
town
Right.
was.
Yeah. Well, and if you found a church home right away, and you said you became acquainted quickly and had good friends.
Yeah, and I don't know what all the different ones that we played cards together and jabbered over things and whatnot. I don't think that any of us were too far different.
True. It still is a homogeneous area.
And we all pitched in and did. In fact, back then, I did more for neighbors than anything. Uh, and I guess that's probably what got me my job there at the courthouse.
Sure.
Because people that lived across the road, people that lived down the road from us, and then of course some of the people that had worked for us that lived down and back in a little ways on another road. They all, and see, this was all with the slump that
everyone was struggling.
was in.
Sure.
And you just felt for everybody, it seemed. And I guess we must have not had that struggle or something, because I was I was offering my help to so many different ones around.
Did you take extra children in and stuff? Is that what you mean?
No. Of course, I was driving too, so different times there'd be maybe things I could bring them, from town or whatever. But when I was working there at the court, though, some of these families that didn't live too close either. They lived down the road quite a ways. They were really down and outers, and come to my attention about some of the things. So in just even meeting their the needs that had to be for their
just basic needs.
Yeah, for their good. I'd make kettles of soup or different things and take to them, and the people across the road, they had children, and Kathy, my youngest daughter, by that time, of course this was much later too, by that time
Kathy's your baby.
Yeah, she was giving piano lessons. My youngsters all took piano, one
Did
after
they?
the other,
Did
from Mary Lockery. Yeah.
Great.
And Kathy was the one that was, when she went down to Central, she was majoring in music to begin with, but she changed her major and got back into social work finally.
Just like Mom, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, but and then
Of your 9 children, how many went to college?
well, there was 3 of them that got started. Kathy's the only one that really went the gamut. She even did her master's
Oh, really?
in social work, and
Did all your children graduate from Roscommon High School?
all but Pete, and of course he was a quadriplegic and had a big struggle, but I've met so many different ones since that said, oh, I went to school with Pete, and we just got him up and down those stairs there at the school. It was stairs for taking his wheelchair, but he wasn't in school a lot. There were so many times that he was being in treatment, or he lived at Mary Freebed down in Grand Rapids for a while for rehabilitation, but it never did get any better there. But it seems like there's just been.
How old was he when he died, Marge?
I think it's here.
Oh, right here, 81. He was 46.
So he lived a good life.
He did, yeah.
And he productive life too, because he, in our big recreation room, he had an office set up that after his father died in '55, he just took over with the business.
Oh.
And
Cool.
and even drove. He had a car with hand controls, and so he drove and to go to check on things, you know, at the woods, how, because Lumen had gotten our part of the business, so that it was a matter of seeing that Cutters did certain things and took care of certain parts of the setup that where they had to keep the roads in and out, you know. And
so how long did Peter keep that business going?
I don't know.
Quite a while, though, after your husband died.
Yeah, I would say until shortly before he was before '81.
Really? Well, good for him.
Yeah, and in fact, he sold our part of sold this business that we had out, and so after Pete passed away, and it was during certain breakdown, his skin was so tender that he got terrible pressure sores, and he was deteriorating to a certain amount, so that he didn't get out as much as he had been. And the doctor, he did all of his arranging himself. He made contact with doctors over in Minnesota.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, and doctors that would take care of his surgeries, which needed to be done with the breakdown of his skin like it was, and but without the use of blood, because see, he was witness.
So he didn't take the
Yeah,
blood.
yeah. And the reason he was a witness, and I sure give them a lot of credit, they were right there for Pete all the time.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, and took him to different meetings downstate, to the big place where they met once a year or twice a year or whatever. Took care of him, and saw to it that he went to the meetings, and we'd have meetings at our house even. I didn't think too much of it at the time, though I knew they were doing him a service.
Sure.
And so the witness.
It was a wonderful support group for him.
Yeah, and so a lot of the witnesses are my staunch friends too.
Sure. Well, they should be.
Yeah, and he, you know, Gina and Jack Leline were. Gina was Catholic, you know, to begin with.
I know she was.
And her mother wasn't too happy when she knew that they.
Yes, but those people helped her when she was.
Oh yeah.
She was?
Oh yeah, she changed her tune too, and so did I. But it was just it was a miracle for Pete, of course.
Sure it was. Sure.
And so when he got into the witnesses, why, it was something that we had some of their meetings at our house. And we had that big recreation room, and that's the room they used, you know.
Sure, well, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Truly it was.
And
if he could keep the business going, that was wonderful
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Really.
And when he sold it, you see, that was a big plus for me, because then I didn't have any more to have to take care of.
Sure.
And it was a situation that had some
A lot of merit for everybody.
money for.
Sure.
For
Well, tell me, when
that.
when did you start being such a wonderful artist?
Oh,
Did you draw as a young person also?
yes.
Did you?
Can I?
You want me to stop it?
Yeah.
Okay, we are now looking at some beautiful pencil drawings. And you were just a young bride when you did this. Oh, wow.
And this was of one of Luhmann's fraternity brothers.
No kidding.
And this was of a cousin. Now these are damaged stuff.
Yes,
They
but,
haven't.
you know, you should get these framed.
Oh,
These are beautiful. 1929, and you were married in 1930?
yeah.
No, it says Legg already.
Oh, does
Where
it?
were you married?
But I think I did it in 29.
Yeah, you probably, and then probably signed it later.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful. Now that is done with just a brown pencil?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, who was this? Oh, this is a cousin.
A cousin of mine, Charlotte. She died here a year or so ago. She was just my age.
Look at that. These are beautiful.
And this was my daughter Betty, one of the twins. And and you can see this, I've done a lot of monkey, and then also the kids got into them sometimes
Why,
too.
sure.
And damaged them.
This is beautiful. Look at her eyes.
And both of these are the twins.
The twins, sure. Well, you had a God-given talent to be able to...
George Raft, you remember him? In 1929.
No, that's before my time.
Well, you see, I was going with Luhmann then.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't hear much about about how you fell in love with him. You kind of skipped over that, but that's okay. Oh, these are just beautiful.
And these are just some little
Oh my
things
gosh.
out
Well,
of.
I can't. These faces have so much.
And you know, why didn't I continue doing
Oh, I know, they're
portraits or
just
something?
beautiful.
But I didn't. I just decided,
Was this your mother?
no.
Says mom.
Well, I think
Is it you?
I think it means
It's
that I
you.
did it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oh
And-
my goodness.
There's no rhyme nor reason, but I did these hit and miss, you know.
But did you take art in school?
They didn't offer much.
No, probably not. But did your mother must have encouraged you?
And my mother was good at drawing, too.
Was she?
Uh-huh.
We kind of missed about how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had two sisters.
The three of you, huh? Where are you were you the oldest?
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
Or you are the oldest?
Look at these crazy things.
Oh, boy, but all the expressions, they're just wonderful.
And then Boy Scout deal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Those are beautiful.
Yeah. I'm just kind of.
Did you not do paintings to sell then after you were retired?
No, I didn't. I didn't do much of any painting.
Well, you were in the art shows and it was
Oh.
wonderful.
Well, oh, here's
Some more.
some more of those.
Let's see. Oh my gosh.
And that was one of the.
You just,
Things
you
that I
looked
did.
at that and
Yeah.
painted it.
Yeah.
Oh, these faces are just amazing. Look at that.
I loved
the baby.
doing it at the time. I can remember that.
Sure.
Yeah, that was Louis, my
Oh, that's
son.
sweet.
And this was a little cousin of Louis. Maureen O'Hara, or Maureen
Sullivan.
Sullivan, yeah.
Wow. Well, these are priceless. These are wonderful.
I want to show them sometime to the,
To your pen and palette.
yeah.
Yeah,
And these, you should look through them. Some of them are real
Okay.
great ones that were put on exhibits out there. And
So we're talking now about Marge's daughter, Joan, who lives in California and who also has artistic ability. And we just looked at some of the artwork that she has done, and it's wonderful. So you passed it down from your mother to Joni, huh?
yeah, you can just lay it there in the middle.
So how long have you been active in the pen and palette?
From its beginning.
Which was, do you know how long?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. We started out there at the high school.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Was it after you retired?
I don't think so, no.
The new high school?
Yeah, that was the new high school.
Because that was opened in 73.
Who had the hardware store?
Rutledge's.
Sue and her husband.
Glover's.
Glover's.
Mm-hmm.
Sue Glover.
Her parents had it before that, Stu
Yeah, but it was Sue that
Stewart's.
would be able to maybe say, not that she was out there, but she knew about all meeting together. In fact,
Well,
I think
it's
she
been a
was
nice, productive group.
I think she was one of our teachers or whatever at one time.
Okay, well, I'm going to see if there's any more questions. What do you remember when you came to Roscommon? You said you played a lot of bridge. And were the trains still coming with passengers when you moved here?
I don't
Not that you remember that, because you were out of town.
We were out of town.
Yeah.
I didn't get in on a lot of things that were.
Here, let me take that.
Thank you.
Well, but you were busy raising all these children,
Well,
I would say.
and cooking and
Sure.
Lumen did a lot of running back and forth with the kids too, and buying groceries and all that stuff too. So there was just a lot of living.
That's good. It was good, clean living.
Yeah.
Well, that is great. Well, we appreciate you sharing all that with us. See, that's a good bit of little...
And of course, did we talk about the fact that I don't remember what church it was, but it was one, I think, that was out there near the overpass going toward Higgins Lake, a little church down.
The little Lutheran, little Swedish
Lutheran church.
Messiah Lutheran.
I think it was that one that that started this going out to the cookhouse for.
Oh, yes. They talk about that they used to have Swedish dinners, but I don't know where they had them.
No, that wouldn't have been out at our place. No, but and maybe it wasn't even that church that started this going to out there for the after church.
So it was a big breakfast?
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
yeah. And they were big too. And in fact, we had so many people coming that besides the big dining room with a huge table, they had another room in the place fixed up with tables and chairs too, because it was too much of an overflow.
I bet he loved it. I bet
Yeah.
Mr. Baker loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
And he cooked on an old cook stove, you know.
Mm-hmm. Gee, isn't that something?
Yeah, things weren't exactly. I even had a cook stove over at our place for a while, but then, gosh, we changed things. We got more modern.
Sure,
And
sure. What do you remember about the war years? World War II.
The only thing that I remembered, of course, is my son Bob having to be taken, and we didn't like that too well because he was up at an age where, you know, where he could have been used at home.
But the war was kind of over with by then, by the time he went, because he was born in 50. No, he was born in 30, so he was
Yeah.
only 15 when the war ended. So he must have been right at the end of it, or right after it ended. Yeah.
Oh, but anyway, see, it was just, we weren't put to real bad troubles, but
Did you have the rationings
They
books
were-
and all that?
I don't remember that.
Don't you?
I know gas was
You were careful.
careful there. And
Did you grow
I
out there?
did.
Did you grow vegetables and do a lot of
yeah,
canning?
and I did do a lot of canning.
Did you?
Oh yeah, Lumen would be going with a because there was a time there where he had revamped a vehicle that he had so that he could pick up more things, and when he'd go downstate or go any place where there were those roadside
Vegetable stands?
vegetable places, he'd pick up bushels of one thing and another, you know, to bring back. And of course he distributed a lot of stuff too for people like that, but that needed things taken. But it just seemed like you adjusted to so many different things that it wasn't always in the same vein. That
Did you often get back to your home area to visit your family and your mother and dad?
Yeah, we did go downstate quite a bit, and brought them up here, and they in fact, in later years, my mother was with us a lot because she was at a point where she couldn't do so well for herself, and she lived with my sister downstate toward the end. But then my sister's husband had a bad stroke, and with all his care, I took Mother up here with us for a time, and then that got to be too much because we had bedrooms upstairs, and it was getting real difficult because I had Pete yet to, you know, to handle and take care of him. So I didn't.
What was your mother's name?
Ada Hunger.
Ada?
Well, Hunger was her maiden name. Powrie was the last name.
Yeah, that's Powrie. That's your maiden
And
name.
then we got acquainted with some more Powries right here in Roscommon.
Really?
Yeah, Sylvina and Stuart Powrie. Um, and this was at an odd time, too, that I happened to go into the donut hole and I heard somebody mention Stuart Powrie. I said, boy, that sounds like our clan. And because we did have Powries in Saginaw area, and but I had never met them or anything, but these Stuart Powries were from down in the Ann Arbor area more, I think. But anyway, I got to know them quick after I heard the name.
Sure.
And we've had many reunions, nice reunions together with both sides of these families, you know, and it's been real nice.
Sure. Why, sure. Well, we appreciate your time today. Is there anything else you can think of that we should record for posterity and history? Oh.
The only thing that I look back on and think of is the change, that they're minor changes, but still changes in Roscommon. I can remember where Lockery's grocery store used to be, and
Yeah.
and the various things around that, you know, just gradually changed, that's all. And of course the drugstore that was Andy's is
Yeah.
now a beer garden.
That's true. The first one is
Yeah.
now the Tin Fish, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Everything, the only thing for sure is that everything keeps changing.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna just go down is it okay if I just list your children and make sure we haven't left anyone out?
Okay,
There were the twins, Robert and Elizabeth, and then Joan, and then Peter, Louis, Barbara, Carol, Cynthia, and Kathleen.
mm-hmm.
So that was a nice family.
And the sad thing right now is that Barbara is going through some real bad stuff.
Oh, that's too bad.
This multiple myeloma.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Where does she live?
Uh, she and her family live in Kalispell, Montana.
Oh, that's a long ways from here.
Yeah, but and of course I've got the two daughters yet in California, where I had three when Carol passed away. And
So do you have any children here?
I have two daughters here in Michigan. One in Marshall, Michigan, is the
Oh.
Betty, the twin,
Oh, okay, Elizabeth.
and Kathy, youngest, up in Sutton's Bay.
Oh,
And of course, she's connected with the Grand Traverse school system.
oh, is she?
Yeah.
And is Joan the only one that is as artistic as you?
No, Betty is.
Oh, Betty is too. Huh?
Yeah, and in fact, she's she's taken some of my materials and she's going to start up doing something again. She did do a watercolor painting of children,
Oh.
and she did really nice work, but and she's entered into the work field again along with her daughter and her husband, that have taken over the management business of their of my granddaughter's husband's family, which is Turkeyville down in Marshall, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, that's a big setup.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so, of course, they've been at it for years and years,
Yeah.
you know, and it's grown. And there's just an awful lot going on there. And, of course, they have the dinner theater there, too, now. And so...
So that keeps Betty
Betty.
busy.
Betty is on the, what do you call it, where they're phoning all the time. They're glued to the phone
Oh, okay.
because it's arranging buses and all the
All the guests that they have.
clientele. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, Marge, I think you did fine. Do you feel okay about it? It wasn't so bad, was it?
Sounds terrible, I think.
Oh, no. You did just fine, and we thank you very much. And we'll close, okay? Today is June 9th, 2005. This is Carol Garlow. We're going to add a little bit to this tape from Marge, okay? Here you go, Marge.
Well, we lived in Roscommon for a short time in John Lockery's small house in back of Bank One on Brook Street, long since having been tore down. We moved out on M18, 3 miles from town. Percy Legg had Roy DeWitt build them a new log house on the lot next to the place that they had remodeled for living from the large barn that was on the property. He owned or bought from family members this property with extensive acreage. The original farmhouse was still there, which was used as the cookhouse for hired woods help that they had a cook called Harry Baker. A bunkhouse was added to that part of the property too, a distance from our homes, and we made more changes. We made more changes in the barn home that we were going to live in that after we left town. Lumen's brother Carson and Thelma, his wife, had a small half-log home built on some property across the garden from us on the other side of the cookhouse. When they came up from Pontiac to join the Leggville clan, as time went on and our family grew, we added a master bedroom, also a recreation room downstairs with a second bathroom, an area off the recreation room of closets and bunk beds. A hospital bed was later added for Peter when he'd had his accident, the fall from the silo when playing hide and seek with his cousins. Much doctoring and treatment for the remaining quadriplegic condition. we were glad to have the extra space. To see that somebody can reword this so much better. I could even two at one time. I don't know what to do.
It's okay, just keep reading it.
I don't even read it good. We were glad to have the extra space of the recreation room, where also an office was set up that Pete was able to take over after his father died in 1955. This was accomplished because of his good mind, determination to take over the business through use of a two-way radio, trips in a van equipped with hand controls, lift and ramp, being in his wheelchair. I had started later to work at the probate court for James Rutledge as a juvenile officer, and later when Jim retired for Howard Gaylor until his retirement in, I don't remember, should be in that book,
Okay.
as juvenile worker, and approved by the state, paid by the state. Elsie Brunt had been the worker but wanted to retire, and she recommended me to Jim, as I'd been helping neighbors and various families out our way, and she felt and could fit in pretty, and she felt I could fit in pretty well, though I had no formal training yet. I could type, and I had a fair vocabulary and understanding of what was expected of parents, children, schools, and so forth. I loved the challenge and was approved by the state inspector. Also, I attended meetings and seminars frequently, hiring a nurse at the times for care of Pete. I'd been interested in art for some time, having done some portrait drawings, and I felt when chances to get some classes and more experience, I could join in with some friends who were also wanting to explore more art and painting. So the Pen and Palette Club was formed. We met in the new high school outside town, but we put on shows over on the river banks by the bridge through the town of Roscommon for many years, and finally set up in front and back of the old school in town, also back of the courthouse for part of July. Many of us went away for the winters in later years, and after Pete died in '81, I started going to California, where 3 of my girls lived. Also, one for the winters. I should have said there. Oh yeah, I did. Also, Barbara married a California young man who was going into dental school, and they ended up with his practice back in Kalispell, Montana. I spent winters out west and summers back in Roscommon, and after selling our home in Leggville, where I'd lived for most of my married life, and my children attended school in Roscommon, graduating and most going on to further education for a short time or service at that time. There was only one that went clear through and got her
Bachelor's?
no, she got the what is the next one?
Master's.
Master's. Yeah, she got her master's after graduating from
Central?
Central, yeah. And then she went down to the Detroit area.
Wayne State?
Wayne State, yeah. And it was an interesting, exciting, and gratifying life with both good days and bad, from which we did learn and gave many prayers of thanksgiving. Today we are praying to the good Lord for Barbara's life to be brought into remission with this multiple myeloma she's fighting down at Little Rock, Arkansas Treatment Center with her